We have a guest this half hour. We are back with Milton Reid, the purveyor of black Quill ink, and we have a caller on the line. Now, this is, who do we have?
Paul and Evans.
Paul from Evans. Paul from Evans.
Thank you for joining us, Paul.
Thanks for joining us, Paul.
Hey, I appreciate you taking my call. Thanks for a good show on Sunday. I do this with headsets on as I'm cleaning the yard.
Awesome.
Oh,
Kind
great.
of a good diversion when I'm out there mowing and trimming.
Cool. Well, I hope we provide
great.
good information for you, and we enjoy having you. Thanks for listening.
Hey, I was listening to the comment before the break about is this an older or a younger phenomenon? And I'm older. I'm 62, retired, and I'm back working again. I'm retired military quite a few years ago. Two well-respected friends of mine, people I really like, have, for the lack of a better term, gone to the dark side. And for different reasons. One is a high school friend of mine, one of the smartest people in the class that never really did anything with his life, and is now very bitter, and he's Democratic all the way. It's all, it's conspiracy, and capitalists are out to get me, and he really will vote for Obama without any thought of why, and we can't talk anymore. And there's another one who's a retired military, very conservative till he retired, and now he went through civilian life, retrained, and now he's a VA worker with the AFGE. And he is there. They ought to have a communist hammer and sickle up in the corner of the newsletter. He sends them to me.
Oh my goodness!
And we're having a hard time communicating on that. And I think it's an older phenomenon in certain cases. But most people that realize that, we're losing things in Medicare and we're losing our freedoms and our choice are coming back to conservative values. I don't think we ever left, but I think we're reinforcing that.
Yeah,
and I love your comment by your guest about we got to get back to basics and get back to, to some real common sense.
Absolutely. Milton, you still with us, buddy?
I'm here.
Is that your experience, that it's really not an age-related thing? Because where I'm coming from on this, guys, is this old saying that I've heard it time and time again, that if you're not liberal when you're young, you have no heart. If you're not conservative as you age, you have no brains. Have you ever heard that?
I've heard it, and I think it's often true, Lee. But I think you can almost look at Obama as a prime example, as perhaps being an exception.
Certainly, he has brains. Yeah.
If you look at his background, his tight association with communists and socialists, and I had an article we published a couple of weeks ago. How many coincidences does it take to create a fact? I have a very liberal friend of mine who, when I present him with the many associations that Obama has had throughout his life with communists and socialists and Marxists, he sort of shrugs them off as, well, those things are just coincidences. And I told him at some point, you have to assume that it's more than just a coincidence when it's consistently happening as it has happened. So when you look at the fact that he went through that in his life, you would, based on the principle you just noted, you would have thought that perhaps he would have evolved into maybe thinking on a more conservative note. It's just the opposite with him. He is probably perhaps even more radical now than he was perhaps in his college days. So
wow.
I think for most people that's a truism, but in his case it just doesn't seem to have applied.
Yeah, and I think talking with going back to Paul's point real quick, he was talking about his friend who was in the military and then retired from the military, and then he went to the VA. Now, that situation, I really don't know what to say about that. Perhaps it's part of the institution that he's moved to. The military tends to be more conservative, and they instill conservative values in members of the military even at a young age. Whereas you get into some other government type agencies, they really are quite radical. I mean, they're very protectionist of the system that allows them to exist and to
the bureaucracy
profit.
itself.
Right.
Exactly.
So they're really about that system. But now, Paul, the other friend that you were talking about, that you said he was really bitter.
He's gone through a lot of different jobs. I mean, he never went past high school, but every job he gave 110%. They offered him management jobs. They said, we need you to be a supervisor. And he had such a negative view, I guess because he thought everyone in management was stupid or greedy or whatever. He just wouldn't do it.
Okay,
And
well,
he could have advanced very well, but he's very bitter now because he's had so many different jobs with no. He's got Social Security, and that's basically it.
right.
And he's looking for more. He wants more. Somebody's going to give him more.
Somebody's got to give him more. Exactly. Now, see, what that sounds like to me is a person who, now, I don't know your friend, so I'm not, but I'm just saying, it sounds to me like this guy never really got out of that teenage rebellion, down with the man kind of thing, that attitude that, we had when I was a child of the 60s, and I'm guessing this guy's probably older than I am, or at least a little. I recall that attitude kind of being very widespread at that point in time. And I know some guys that never really grew out of that. I have an uncle who never really grew out of that. He is a very smart guy, can talk history like nobody's business, never went to college, but he works for the VA, and that's why I'm thinking, maybe it's partially the environment, it's partially, where they work, and the fact that we have so many people working in government type jobs these days as compared to working in the private sector, that maybe that is being put into them. It is, again, I go back to, we have so much information thrown at us these days, 24/7. I mean, we have a 24-hour news cycle now. We have the internet. You've got smartphones. You can stream this show on your phone. I bet, is that what you do, Paul, when you're working out in the yard?
Actually, I've got it. I'm low tech. I've got a set of hearing protection that's got a
AM/FM radio.
I look like I'm a construction worker pushing along.
That is cool. That is cool. Hey, Paul, we really appreciate you listening in, man, and we appreciate you making the call. Do you have another question for Milton? Another statement you'd like to make?
I don't. I just appreciate this show. This is really good on the weekends. I mean, I get so much information on the weekends from you guys. I love WNRR. You've got great guests. Milton, thank you so much for being on. And this is just a good show for Saturday and Sunday. I listen all weekend.
God bless you, and thank you so much, Paul.
Thanks.
All right, buddy. Well, Milton, what do you think, man?
You made a very good point, Lee, about the bombardment of information, and the advent of technology. But you think about it, it cuts both ways. Paul's friend could very likely have been with the negatives that are sort of fed into his need to support his philosophy and outlook toward things. But at the same time, there were opportunities out there for him to access information that could help him turn things around. And I think we have to look at things in that light. I know that's something that my family continues to impress upon me, that there are opposing views, because I can get pretty
heavy,
stern about my feelings about a particular issue.
Right.
They keep me sort of grounded by encouraging me to continually see the other side of the coin, if you will.
Right. Yeah, that kind of lighten up snapperhead attitude. I have to be reminded of that occasionally. People say, "Dude, you make me want to cut my wrist. Stop it! Just shut up already."
I think we sometimes have the feeling that we really know the truth, if you will.
Right.
And we just can't understand why other people can't see it.
Right. Hey, we're up against a hard break. Milton, stay with us. We'll have more with Milton Reid on the other side of the break. Caller, we got you on hold. Stay with us. We'll get to you right after the break. More ahead right here on Talk Radio 1380 WNRR. It is Faith in Freedom.